Okay, that should be live. Could you confirm?
Not yet, but there is a delay.
Yeah, I can assume so. Hi, Beshoy. Is it? How do I pronounce your name?
Yes, Bishoy.
Bishoy. How are you doing, my friend?
Yes, all is good. How are you guys?
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's on.
Yeah. Yeah, we've started doing live streams recently, but this is just. I think your first time in the co-working session, right?
Yes, this is my first time.
Awesome. And when did you join the community?
I believe that's 3 months ago,
Okay.
4 months is around this.
Did you have the chance to explore and see how everything works so far?
Yes, most of it. يعني I enjoy the videos you posted. بصراحة, it's to the point and very concentrated on some stuff that's not commonly exposed by others. It's very interesting.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so basically, I mean, you know how the community works. We have every Wednesday co-working session, and the idea behind the co-working session is that on Monday I make a post where people are dropping content or topics to discuss, and then today we are gonna discuss them. If we manage to collect everything or talk through everything, then we are gonna switch to some Q's and A's, and that could be questions from the call, or it could be comments on YouTube, or questions inside this live call, anything. So we talk topics around
Okay.
Android, and I will share the agenda for today. It should be this one. So it's gonna be available for everybody. First, we are gonna go through some updates around the community, some libs and toolings that were dropped there, a little update around hiring. Then we will talk about maps in Compose, although this is a very wide topic to discuss. So I'm just gonna throw some shade, but I plan to make dedicated stream on this because it's really a lot to cover. And we're gonna talk a little bit about Firebase versus Supabase, or what are the pros, cons, and um, wait, there is some questions going on here. Oh yeah. Um, Thanks for the update. So it turns out I'm not sharing my screen in the call. I'm only sharing that on YouTube. So let me quickly fix that. Could you confirm if the screen is visible? Sorry about that. So here is the
It is.
agenda that I was talking about. So we are going to talk about Firebase versus Supabase, or what would be better option to start a personal project. Maybe we're gonna take a look in app modularization, or at least how I would approach it. If we manage, we're gonna talk a little bit about AI tools and then Q's and A's. Make sense? Cool. Um, for the people in a live stream, I don't know how many there are, if they are. Feel free to use the chat to drop some questions if you have, or some comments or anything. And yeah, it would be great if you can also like or share the stream or subscribe, so it's gonna help. Cool. So back to the agenda. Let's start with community updates. So basically, if I go back to the community, there were some stuff happening last week, and let's start off one by one. There was this update from this member about using a library for icons in Compose. And essentially, this is quite easy to set up. I did take a look. I didn't put lots of attention to it to look in details, basically you can copy paste these icons. So you can search for an icon, you can paste it, and then it's gonna create. So it's just 3 steps, and then you have vector drawable in XML format for that. That's cool, easy to do. Thanks to Chiran, I think it's his name. Then there was one post about compose multi-platform and native C, C++, how to combine those. There were some, not only article, but also some videos shared here. Thank you, Chana, also for adding this. This is awesome. This short video that explains the whole thing. This is quite interesting if you are doing native. Then there was a post about hiring. Godzilla is hiring Android developers. So maybe if somebody wants to apply, I would encourage everybody to apply. Why not? Just give it a try. At least you're gonna get through the process, and you are gonna learn something out of it, even if you don't make it. I think that's remote friendly job. You can find a link here. What else? Yeah, there was a post about dynamic SSL pinning in Android if there is a need for it. And basically that would be some of the stuff that were happening in the community last week, mostly. This is the post where we are collecting topics for the co-working session. And related to hiring, I mentioned the jobs at Godzilla, and I would also want to give an update about developers, how they are gonna shortlist you, or how would you become in front of the competition. Because essentially we spoke about them, like there is this common vibe lately, I would say, that says, wait a sec,
Sorry,
it says the
I
streaming
think the
stop.
streaming is
Is
stopped.
it?
Now it
No,
continues.
Oh, okay.
working.
So there is this
Sorry.
misconception, I would say, that the market is down, or the market is not as it used to be, which is true. And it's not because there is less demand for mobile apps or mobile app developers. Rather, the demand or the entry level barrier is increased a little bit, but also you have to take in consideration that in the industry there is exponential number of people coming every year. So there is many more developers coming into the industry year by year. So in that sense, if it is not about yeah, you are experienced and everything stands there, but how do people find you? How do they know that you're alive? So if you're not active, regardless how experienced you are, they wouldn't be able to find you. And in that sense, optimizing your LinkedIn profile, being active there, is going to increase the chances for you to be found from recruiters or hiring managers. And this is something that we also mentioned in the previous stream. And I spoke with some relevant recruiters that are recruiting they have expertise in recruiting in US, Europe, and Asia. And essentially, that's some of the outcome that I learned from that. Okay. And in terms of hiring, if you're looking for jobs only on LinkedIn, I would recommend expanding that to other platforms as well. And one platform that I found very interesting lately was Welcome to the Jungle. This is the one. It is only specific platform specific for finding jobs, and by no means this is sponsored or anything. It's just a platform that I think Chana suggested that to me, and I found it really interesting. So what this does is like you can create a profile here that matches, or like you can set up your preferences, and then it's gonna shortlist jobs for you. And for some reason I'm not signed in. I used to. Okay, anyway, probably there is some problem with the login or whatever. But you can set up your profile with your preferences. That then it's gonna give you updates even on daily basis, depending on the settings that you are gonna set. Um, so you can find jobs that are matching you better. Cool. That being said, let me get to the agenda back. Maps in Compose. So regarding maps in Compose, traditionally what you could do is we have map view in the XML world. And when Compose came to the world, we could use any XML-based layout in Compose by wrapping it into Android view. So like in Compose, there is composables dedicated for this. It is called Android view, and then we can wrap any composable, any traditional XML UI into that. And it's gonna give you, usually, let me open an application here that we are using, that we could use for this. So if I open any composable UI here, this one, for example, here we can use something like Android view, and then it gives us two callbacks, factory, or two functions, two lambdas, and then update. Now here, it gives me context, so that by using this context, I can create, I can use any XML-based UI. So I can use text view, for example. So I'll create new text view, and then here it gives me the reference to that text view. So I can do updates on it. In that sense, this is, oops. In that sense, similarly, we can do something like with any, literally any XML-based view or UI that we want to use in Compose. Now, for the maps specifically, to go back to the maps, we could do this, but it's not recommended. So what is recommended is to use dedicated library or dependency for maps. And I think if you just Google, you can find the documentation, but also like what I'm referring to now is the dependency to add to the manifest, to the TOML. It's here. So basically this dependency. And then by using this one, we have Google Maps. I think it was named the composable, and we can specifically customize it, add markers on it. We can do a bunch of other things related to maps. And what I would like to do in one of the following streams is to actually showcase only this. So the full stream will be around that. And what we are gonna do is, I don't only want to show you how you can show maps, but also how you can add pins, how you can change them or update them, or use different drawings or some titles on them, and also how to draw polygons, and also how to do some animations on the map, like zoom in, zoom out. Let's say you have a bottom sheet like Google Maps, and so when it is expanded, the map will sort of shrink down a little bit or zoom out. So those kind of things, which is something that is useful and also it will be interesting. That's what I would like to show, but that, again, it will be dedicated stream. So for now, I'm just saying you need to have API key for accessing the maps, because this is a paid service. And then one is like you can create your own like debug. For debug, you can use debug key, and then you are pretty much free to use it for development. And for production, you're gonna have additional one, and that's the whole thing. So you add that key in your configuration, and then you use the Google Map composable. It's gonna be easy. And then you can find a bunch of other documentation here, of course, but maybe we can do nice stream around it. And I think I must say that this is very well documented, very well. All right. Then talking about Firebase versus Supabase, or what is better to start a personal project, Supabase is quite flexible, I have to say. I don't have very direct experience using it like very extensively. I just took a look into it, or what are the possibilities. Now you have two possibilities when it comes to Supabase. You can use online hosting, which is already there for you, and you can set up the things. Um, but then it comes with limitations in terms of bandwidth, in terms of space, and everything you can imagine around that. So the free version does have limitations. If you pay, obviously you're not going to have those limitations. However, Supabase is open source, so it allows you to actually host it on your own server. And in that sense, you are more flexible, like much more flexible in that case. But you are going to be in charge of setting up everything around the networking, the database, like everything around the whole infrastructure. So you're going to be in charge of the whole infrastructure, and then it becomes a little bit more complex to do. So those are the two things. But when you have to compare this with Firebase, Firebase is something that comes from Google, so it is like it works really well with Android. Although I'm not saying Supabase doesn't, but the integrations related to any application that you may have are going to be quite straightforward. And additionally, if you are talking about, for example, if your application has notifications, Firebase is the only way that you would get notifications on Android. So in that sense, if you're having notifications, you like it's up to you. But if you're already integrating Firebase for that, maybe it makes sense to also use Firebase for the rest of the things and don't mix and match the things. But I would say it depends on the use case. If you have a real need to have more than just like if Firebase is not that flexible in that sense, I would suggest taking a look in the Supabase. But again, take in consideration all the limitations that are coming with it. And in fact, if you go to the community and if you search here, there was quite some discussion. If you search for Supabase, there was quite some discussion in a bunch of posts. So this is the question, but also like there were posts related to Supabase and questions related to it. And here we have quite nice elaboration from Saber, who has extensive usage of it. And it tells exactly what are the pros and cons and what you can consider. So yeah, I would say if you need something easy, quick to set up, Firebase is the way to go. Plus, I mean, yeah, you do have a vendor lock with Google, but you would have that anyway in terms of like if you want to set up, let's say, notifications, you don't have much choice there. Cool. App modularization. Now, I don't know, because this was just a topic that was thrown in the post about app modularization. This is not a specific question, so I don't know what to elaborate on this. But I have to say that inside the community, we're talking a lot about modularization, and um, we have some classrooms based on it, and we have some sample projects that we are using inside the community related to modularization. In particular, if you go to GitHub, there is an app that we're using, or a repository that we are using inside the Android devs community. This is that repository, and this is modularized, so it gives a nice showcase of how would we approach. There is one more, which is utilizing the Rijksmuseum API, which is open API, and the Rijksmuseum is a museum here in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and we're using that API to make a little application. So let me show you. Is this repository. And this one has also is modularized, and it has two approaches, which is main, like the straight, and we have also refactored from the initial one was using retrofit, and here we also have refactored to use Cater so that we can showcase how that's going to look like, so that we have covered both approaches. But this is also modularized, and this is smaller application compared to this one, so that like you can see the approach. I think it was this one that was modularized. No, oh, sorry, no, this is not not the one that I was looking for. It was which one was it? Let me quickly take a look here. Nav setup. Sorry. This is the one. So here we have few branches. One is main, one is modules, and one is regular. So main is basically a starter project that you can utilize to learn if you want. And this mostly is like if you read the README, this repository is used in a video that I created recently that talks about setting up navigation. Nonetheless, this is more about navigation, but the modularization setup is still there. So if you just open a modules branch, you can see also one way or similar way for modularizing that we have here in the Android Devs application. So most of the time, what I would approach is I have the app module, which consolidates everything. Then I have feature folder where I have features, and here we have quite some features. Now, all these feature modules are basically UI modules, like drawing some UI, some screens. They define navigation, how to navigate to that feature, and also, like most of the time, we're going to have a view model that will bound this part of the application, the UI, and we'll start talking to lower level details, being it use case, being it repository, whatever you have in your like lower level details. Cool. And then we have like you can have another folder for those lower level details. They're not included here, as I said, because this was more set up for a navigation. And then we have shared folder where you have shared modules. It could be networking, for example. It could be UI, because the UI is shared across. So here we have shared UI, and this shared UI is a module that exposes, let's say, access to Compose. And then all these other feature modules, like all of them, are utilizing, if I open the build.gradle, they're utilizing the shared UI project. So they have access to Compose, and they have access to common things that are kept in the shared UI, which could be, let's say, common composables, or it could be common drawables, anything like that. While we are here, I think this question was asked from Bishoy. Maybe you have additional question in that regard.
Yes, this was from my side.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about this topic modularization, but I don't know exactly why we should use modularization. But I will check these rebels. I believe they would have answers for all my questions.
I think that's an excellent question to begin with. Why would you need to modularize? And actually, let me maybe start with, I mean, that's something that we could explain before you start looking into this. These repositories will answer the how to, but they will not answer why. So let's maybe answer the why here, if that makes sense. So what would you modularize? It makes sense if you're building, let's say, bigger application. For smaller applications, I'm not saying you should not, but it's not something that you will benefit from a lot. Then why would you modularize bigger application? There are a few aspects. One is if you're working, let's say, in a team, and the team is having more members. When you have modules, you can separate the work by, let's say, one team is working on a separate module, another team on separate module, and in that sense, you are not stepping on each other's foot. Additionally, why the modules are beneficial is that if you, let's say, change one module, all the rest are not changed, then the build time is going to be improved. Because you are changing only one module, depending on the setup, most of the time only that module is going to be recompiled. So then you are saving time. But if that module is used by another modules, then probably it's going to, in consequence, build more of the chain. But in any case, you're okay to like when you're doing when you have modularized setup, you're gonna have faster times of compilation most of the time. So that's more or less the reasons behind going for modules. And additionally, if you're, let's say, want to introduce screenshot tests, the screenshot libraries, I'm not sure about all the libraries, but at least the one that I have experience with, which is Paparazzi, you need to have a module in order to make it work, because it couldn't work in this specific app module because of the way that things are being compiled. And I mean, I can share more details somewhere, but there was a stream basically by the author of some of the authors of the library. They explain exactly what are the limitations, why this is not possible. Um, and an additional benefit that I wanted to say when it comes to modules is like if you have an application that has, let's say, um, if you have dynamic features, then you must have a module. So let's say a dynamic feature is a feature that, or instant app, for example. Um, in both cases, you need modules. An instant app is like, for example, a user doesn't need to have your application installed on a device in order to preview a feature. We have examples of some applications that are about news. Like you click on a link, it gives you the instant app experience where you can read the news. And then it shows a button on the bottom saying you can install this application or like install or something. And then you click on that button, it opens the application in Google Play. Now, that might be also something interesting when you're having deep links, let's say, or the Firebase dynamic links. It is a project that was terminated by Google, but maybe the instant apps are a solution for that. So that if you want to have, or if you could put whatever can be opened with a deep link in a instant app experience, then maybe you can do that so that it gives you an easy way to show to the user the real application experience plus a way for them to install the application easily, if that makes sense.
Yes, I got your point. I'll do my work and search more about this to see how this is benefit to me in this area.
Perfect. So please also, like, while you're researching, if you end up with more questions, drop them in the community. It's going to be very cool uh, and beneficial for others to read the answers on those questions. Does it make
Yes,
sense?
sure.
Alrighty. Then let's take a look at the agenda back. By the way, for the people on YouTube that are watching, thank you for being there. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or any comments, please drop them in the chat. It would be nice to have some interaction with you as well. And of course, I would appreciate if you engage with the stream, like put some likes or maybe subscribe if that makes sense to you. So that yeah, obviously the benefit would be that you get notifications, of course, when we do live streams, and uh, you'll join them, of course. AI tools for development. Now, I am not somebody who uses extensively AI just yet. I do see AI as a very good thing or tool that we can utilize to improve our performance in a way. For example, when it comes to coding something, AI can help us introduce the code that we need to introduce sooner, like in other way, do the coding for us. So like I'm not sure if they can replace the whole programming thingy, but like the actual coding, they can help. So effectively, it's gonna do some work for us. And in that sense, I see it as a tool that is nice to have. But I still haven't started using that extensively. As of what tooling is there available, I did take a look back in the days in the Gemini here, which is a plugin that comes in Android Studio that will help you. I did take a look previously in the what was the name now? My brain blocked. The one that comes from Microsoft, from GitHub, the Copilot. Yeah, and that's all about it that I've tried. I did try also some of the web-based AI like DeepSeek and ChatGPT, and they can also do a decent job. Although I think if you're having integration inside Android Studio like the Copilot or Gemini, I think there was some other one that was specific for coding. I forgot what was the name. And they can read the context of. Sorry.
Cursor AI.
Once again, please.
Cursor AI. Cursor.
Probably.
I'm recently using Cursor AI. It's more than amazing.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, there are. I think what I wanted is maybe Claude as well. This one. This one. So I think that one Cursor that you mentioned and this one are more tailored for coding, for programming. And they're, I think, from feedback that I read online, it's not that something I tried, but from what I read online, they're excellent. So yeah, so in that sense, I think those are basically the tooling that I would suggest trying out. They do decent job. I haven't tried, like I haven't used extensively these toolings. I couldn't really say much around it. But I see a huge potential for us as developers to get help from this tooling in the future. Yeah, probably that's all I got to say about AI tooling in development. Alrighty, but like just as as a disclaimer, maybe regardless which AI tool you're using for development, always whenever code it comes up with, just double check that code yourself. Make sure that's the code that you want to write. If that makes sense. So just review the code.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. And then we got some Q&A time. So what are the things that you would like to discuss next? So again, for the people that are live on YouTube, if you have questions, drop them, or any topics that you want to discuss, drop them in the stream, in the chat. Or for the people in the call, drop them in a, if you don't want to speak, you can drop them in the comments, in the messages.
Maybe for the maps. I don't know if I don't know how long of a question it is. I mean, to answer, but can you show, I don't know, for example, how to mark rectangles on maps programmatically?
Yeah, I don't have an example right here, but basically you have to define points So the point being an object that contains latitude and longitude, and then you can draw lines between these points. Like I think it was called polygons. So let me maybe go to the documentation back. Android compose maps. I think it was this one. So if we go down here, drawing on a map, maybe it was something like, yeah. So there is lines, polyline. There is also polygon. So you define polygon where you put list of points. As you can see here, we have list of, these are points, and the points are being, again, objects that are containing latitude and longitude. And then those are going to be your points, and then you are going to draw a polygon. Polygon is something that you can include in your content of the Google map. So the Google map is this one, and then inside this is the content lambda, where you can put markers or polygons or whatever. And then the polygon also, like you can configure different things, like what's going to be the color of a point, what's going to be the color of the line between them, what's going to be the color of the overlay between them, like the map being, let's say, the map view as we know, but this polygon, if you want to make it darker or brighter or lighter or whatever, you can change that color too. Does it make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So it should be easy essentially. I think in your your case, you have, I think you're gonna receive a list of polygons in a notification, and then you have to draw them on a map. Be careful with the data that you're passing through the notification, because if the polygon consists of many dots, like if it's specific, like very detailed polygon, then you will have to provide many points, and then it is going to be maybe a little bit problematic because you have limited space in a notification. But if you have 4, 5, then it's okay.
Right. Okay, thanks. And also, so is it going to render this polygon on a view inside my app, or is it would it rather try to render it on the default navigation app? And so I don't know if my own application would show it, or more like there is often if you click on a location, sometimes like a prompt shows up on the phone if you want to open the default navigation app, usually Google Maps. So that's another confusion I have.
I think that's different. So like what you have on your application is like a map view that draws polygons, but it has nothing to do with directions or navigation. So in that sense, your application is not going to handle those kind of intents. So when you click on notification, you can define a deep link that will open your application, which is unique, and it's not going to be even offered Google Maps or something. So in that deep link, you're going to say open this screen, pass this data there, and then when you open that screen, you load the data that was passed, which is the polygon itself, which is a list of points, and you can say, okay, draw this on a map. So you're gonna have the map view, and then there is a sequence of the things that you have to do. So you're gonna initialize the map, load it, and then you can draw the polygon, and then you can say on the camera view, you can say, okay, make the zoom so that you can show me this exact polygon centered on the screen. So it's gonna zoom in or out the map so that it shows the full polygon. Now, based on how far the distance between those dots is, that's going to be the zoom, but it's going to do that automatically for you. The API is very nice and flexible in that sense. Yeah, okay, so those are the things that's why I said it should be dedicated stream, because there is a lot to cover.
Yeah. That's why I was also not sure if like how long it would take to answer it. But yeah, I would just Okay, so these were my questions right away.
No worries.
And for those in the YouTube stream, Jov knows what I'm working on because I'm also a paid member, and so this is why he was referring to my own application.
Yeah, he's part of the pro members in the community, and basically we are working on. I mean, I have more context of what he's working on, and yeah, I think if you want, we can do that together. Of course, we can take a look in all these different aspects in a one-on-one setup.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Alrighty, if there are no other questions, I would rather not.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah, hi.
Sorry. Hey, I joined today. I think today is my first time I'm joining. I joined the community like in 2022 or so, but I was not active, and so recently I started to look into again. And I was working on a personal, like a sample project, and have some questions around like how is the recomposition count I'm having is a valid, or I need to look into. Can we take a look together?
So if you have specific question, of course you can drop the question here in the community. Like the community is open for everybody to ask any kind of questions. So like the more specific the question, the better. So I'm gonna give my best to answer it here. So for example, if you scroll a little bit around the community here, there are some people asking different questions, right? And for example, there was somebody asking about data, live data versus shared flow versus state flow. So I tried my best to answer it. So in that sense, if you put a specific question, I'll try my best to answer it. But if
then I'll try to generalize, not sharing everything, but generalize. So what I'm doing is I'll have like a tally counter, a plus and minus button. And then that will increment a counter, right? And I have a list of counters. So I can add a different counter that will have a different counter value, and I can plus and minus there. So there's a simple UI. So a text and two buttons to increment and decrement.
Yeah.
And I'm putting that counter in a lazy column. That means there could be several counters.
Okay.
And I'm storing them in the room database. Okay. So what happens is if I click one counter, like increment one, that will be updated to the room, and then room will throw like, okay, there is a change. So the whole thing is trying to get recomposed, like the lazy column itself. Now, is that fine, or only that specific counter where I hit the increment or decrement button should be recomposed?
Now, it really depends on how you have set up the whole thing. Now, you are storing to database and then reading from database, but it really depends how do you collect this state and how you're exposing this state. Ideally, it should recompose only the thing that was changed, not the entire thing. But to do that, like probably your UI, which is your compose, will communicate with, let's say, something else that is making the call to the database. Let's say a view model, and then the view model may hoist the whole state of your UI, and then only change the things that are changing when you actually make a change. In that sense, you are separating the UI from the actual thing that is in the database. And then when you load the application, you would read what's in the database. And as you're changing the UI, you are updating the state, which then causes also changes in the database.
Yeah, so I have similar setup, but what I'm observing from UI, from view model, is a UI state class that will have a list of counters. So, and if I get something from room, then that means the whole list of counter will be updated.
Yeah.
But how can I make only specific, like I have like, okay, UI state.copy, so update and then it.copy, and then the list will be a new list. So in that case, I need to identify, or even I don't know how it works. So
Yeah, so as you said, probably want to, I mean, the way to do is to create new list, new instance, because other
uh-huh.
because the list itself, if you are using just pure list, it is considered unstable from the compose compiler. And in that sense, it is not working just as great with a recomposition. And you are more, or like, it is recommended to use more sort of stable APIs in terms of recomposition, which is immutable list, for example. It comes from Kotlin X libraries that you can
Mhm.
use. And then again, you would create a new instance that you are going to store in this state that will only have an update of that particular element that you are mutating. That being said, if you have recomposition of the whole thing once, it's not that bad.
Okay.
Like
But
recomposition for the, like, if you have multiple recompositions for, like, without having particular reason for it, then you are actually then that's bad. Then, like, probably you have to find out why that happens. But if a recomposition happens once, um like, it's not that much of a performance hit or any bad. So, like, maybe you are just focusing on a thing that doesn't really change much.
okay.
Oh, pragmatically. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, thank you. I'll take a look on so usually then if we have a list that we are observing and then the list we are from mutating from UI as well, then the best practice is used as a mutable list then in the UI state.
Mutable list is also an interface, and interfaces in general are not stable. So I would say immutable list, but immutable list from Kotlin X. So I think I'm sharing the screen so you can see what I'm sharing. So Kotlin, you can say Kotlin X immutable collections. So this is one more dependency that you are gonna put um, in your toml, or however you are instantiating dependencies. But yeah, and then you can, this is something you can use only for your UI state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks. So.
So it is an immutable list. Like, you can call on any iterable to immutable list. So if you're having list coming from the database, you can map it to immutable list when creating the state or updating the state in your UI. But the state
Okay.
itself will be type of immutable list. This is the type, and this one is stable in terms of
So
composition.
it is different than just a list.
Yes, it's different type.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think if you Google compose compiler stable types, I think there was a list somewhere that was listing which types are stable or unstable, like a full list. But I'm not sure if I will be able to find it right now.
No
Anyway,
problem. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
you're welcome, and thanks for joining the call. Appreciate it. So again,
Yeah.
if you feel like if there is any question that you want to be elaborated in details, just post it here. Or if you want direct one-on-one support, directly working with me, you can also join us in the pro community. You have much more support there. You have daily calls. This one is like one call in the week that we have for the free, but for the pro we have daily support calls, and you have much richer classroom here. So
Got
if
it.
that's something that might fit. Then there are some questions here in the chat. It says, what is the difference between outside TDD, outside in, and inside out? Of course. So those are two, like, basically refer to two different styles of test driving code, and they are not mutually exclusive. One is like the outside in is also known as London School of TDD, and most of the time we use test doubles or mocks to design. So while we're in the red phase of the TDD, we distribute responsibilities to different collaborators, and we don't have just implement. We are not writing implementation right away. We are just extracting these sort of types by using mocks, and we define what's going to be the responsibility of them, meaning creating functions inside that are not implemented, and then we do that in the red to actually design out the solution. Later on, we actually start from the perspective of an acceptance test, where we have the whole side effect of what this feature is going to be doing, and then we build from there, and then we start distributing these responsibilities that I spoke about. And then we are building more from outside inwards by actually, when we, let's say, we distribute this responsibility or create a type that's going to have some functions, there is no implementation, then the test fails, let's say, we go inside that, we test drive that part. And now test driving that part, that particular component, we may use the inside out TDD, which is actually um, more like something that just gonna drive testing out the behavior of that particular component. So we start from outside, as I said, we go inwards, and at some point we have implemented everything, and then the acceptance test, which is used as a North Star that tells us this is next to be implemented, this is next to be implemented, this is next. We are gonna actually have the whole solution working, and yeah, that's the approach. On the other hand, we have inside out, or more of a classicist approach, as they call it, or Chicago School of TDD. Somewhere you may see it as a Detroit School of TDD, or somewhere in US, doesn't matter. What's interesting here is that you are starting from something small, like very small thingy, and you are aiming to get from red to green as soon as possible. So you are gonna be using things like fake it till you make it. Those are concepts in TDD where like you are writing the behavior or like the expectation in a test, and then you create as little as possible code to make it work. So fake it till you make it refers to things like even hard coding something in the production code to make this test work. Once it works, once it is green, you're free to change it because you have an indicator in a form of a test that will tell you if you break something. And then you start from that small thingy, you are developing the whole algorithm around it. So you may have, let's say, one function that's going to expand over time. And then as you are refactoring, you are going to apply principles like solid principles, anything like practices like patterns to extract code, and then you create more of a solution that is like more robust, extract classes, extract functions, inline things, rename, whatever, any refactoring. And the tests are actually only penetrating the public API, and then everything else is anyway tested. So that would be the. I'm not sure if that's the answer you are looking for. Nice, often overlooked topic, discussing TDD at all, let alone different TDD styles. Yeah, I mean, test-driven development is okay, but oftentimes it is taken too much to the, how to say, to the extremes by some people. I know people that are saying either you do TDD or you are like, or you are not testing, or like you are not professional even, or whatever. I wouldn't say so. I think if you're having good grasp of design and architecture, you can write pretty decent, pretty okay code, um, and still test it. Like you can still have good tests afterwards. So I mean, I'm against this dogma, like either test-driven development or nothing. But on the other hand, it is really good approach to testing because it gives you more confidence long run for changing, for refactoring. I mean, once you're flexible or comfortable enough to test drive code, I don't think you are gonna do anything other than that. And this for example, I'm practicing test-driven development on Android since 2014, roughly, and like I wouldn't imagine writing anything on Android without writing tests first. But that's just the way I am doing it. It's not like the way to do it. It's just up to the to to people, like what they prefer. Oh yeah, yeah. Testing, yeah, for sure. I definitely agree there. Regardless, most sources don't discuss much automated testing. That's what I meant, for sure. Yeah. It is unfortunately true, and still, I mean, still testing is sort of nice to have topic. Although I mentioned at the beginning of this stream when we were talking about the job market and everything, this entry level barrier that is being raised lately is like partly increases the standard to actually ask for automated tests. And there was somebody asking on one of my YouTube videos about, or no, it was another YouTube video from somebody else, but I commented there. And there was a question like, what are the benefits of the automated tests that manual testing is not giving you? But that was actually an honest question. And my answer to that would be, if you are having manual testing, it is more time consuming. It is like, I assume, human pressing the buttons or testing the application. So probably they would follow some sort of list of things that they need to change. And in that sense, um, people, if they are doing repetitive work, chances are they're not going to check everything. So it is more error prone, as Chanat also mentioned. If you're having automated tests, the computers are okay with repetitive work. They're not lazy to run the test, and the tests are usually fast. So you're gonna have really, like, you click one button and you get good indication, did you break something or not? So in that sense, I think automated tests are really, really great, and they shouldn't be overlooked. Thank you for the comment. I really appreciate it. Alrighty. If there are no other questions, I would thank you all for participating in the stream. For people on YouTube, thank you so much for staying with us. If you don't mind, it would be nice if you can click like or even subscribe. It's beneficial for you anyway, because you are gonna get updated with the streams. And yeah, looking forward to the next one next Wednesday.
Yes, thank you, Job, for all your great effort. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Thank you all. If you are
Thank
not
you.
part of the Android Devs community, you are all welcome. It's free. Join us. It's a lot of fun to be part of the community there. I think we do great stuff there. So if you are up to that, join us. It's school.com/Android Devs. Yeah, happy to have you there as well.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Awesome. Victor, thank you so much, man. Cool. Alrighty, then let's close the stream. Let's close the video. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.